Გამარჯობა. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Anna. I teach Georgian language, but today I'm going to tell you stories about how Georgia became Christian country. I will tell you the story about this church that you see behind me. Its name is Svetitskhoveli. I know it's not an easy language and it's not an easy word, but after this video you're going to know why it's called Svetitskhoveli and you're going to see that it's not so complicated. So now I'm going to tell you the story about Saint Nino, because if you're traveling in Georgia, you will notice that many girls are called Nino, and it's not just like a name, and it's not that we don't have the creativity. And also I'm going to tell you the story how this church was built, what is the part of Saint Nino, and I'm going to start from crucifixion of Jesus Christ. When Jesus Christ was crucified, there was the person that was called Eliosi in Georgian, but it's called in English Elias, who brought the robe of Jesus Christ, as we know, and as we know the tradition. After he brought the robe of Christ, he came to Mtskheta because he was from Mtskheta. He gave the robe to his sister, whose name is Sidonia. Sidonia embraced the Christ's robe, and after that she passed away. When Sidonia passed away, it was impossible to separate her from the robe, so she was buried with the robe. Time went, and Lebanese Seder was risen there, and now I'm going to tell you the story about Saint Nino, who came from Cappadocia. As we know, she is a relative of Saint George, and you know Saint George, as you also know the Liberty Square, and you know a lot of guys called Georgian. And it's not that we don't have the creativity again, it's about the history and Christianity. Saint Nino came to Georgia. She was a very young girl, and she had a vision from Virgin Mary. She woke up and she had a cross made from grapevine, and she tied this with her own hair. She came to Georgia, and it's not the Georgia you know now, it's called Iberia, and we are mostly pagans, which means that we believe in everything except God, and our gods are everywhere, and we see the God in everything. The sun and the moon and every stone you see. So during those times we used to believe in idols. One of the biggest idols for us is Armazi, which is the mountain very close here, and there is the monastery, and so we used to worship these idols. During those times, Georgia for now is not very civilized, and Nino comes. Nino starts praying, she starts to spread Christianity, and before that I have to mention that students of Jesus, so apostles Simon and Andrew, were praying here, and they were trying to spread Christianity. Originally it was supposed to be Virgin Mary, but she wasn't feeling good anymore. That's why Georgians believe that Virgin Mary is a very important figure for us, and we believe in her blessing. So Saint Andrew and Simon were praying here, they were trying to spread Christianity, and now we are in the 4th century. The city, the capital is Mtskheta. I'm now in Mtskheta, and Saint Nino was trying and trying, but nothing worked. She was curing people. One of them was Nana. Nana was the queen and the wife of King Mirian. Nana believed in God of Nino after she was already cured, but her husband, King Mirian, wasn't believing in Nino's God because he had a different religion and it was very complicated. One day, Mirian is hunting and he is with his army. But it happens that there is no sun, there is no daylight, and he is completely alone, which means that he starts praying. He starts praying, but nothing is happening. After, he is desperate, I guess, and he starts praying for Nino's God, and then there is the sun again. So Miriam decided to become Christian, and he decided to build a monastery. He decided to build a church, let's say, which is basilica. We call basilica in Georgian language. And he decided to build the church right there where there was Sidonia's grave, and it was an important place. So they decided to build a church, but there is a cedar tree on the grave of Sidonia. They cut it and they use it for pillars. So they have 7 pillars. One of them is very, very stubborn and decides to rise in the air. Saint Nino starts to pray. She prays, and after that, this pillar goes back to the earth, and it is called Svetitskhoveli. It's called Svetitskhoveli because Sveti means pillar, and Skhoveli means animal. But in Old Georgian, it was meaning alive. It meant alive. It meant alive because it had a healing oil coming out that we call Mironi, and people were cured by that oil. So it was life-giving. So Svetitskhoveli, which means a life column, life-giving column, was giving the life to people. So here we have Svetitskhoveli, but the one you see now is not the one that King Mirian built in 5th century, 4th century, sorry. No, in 11th century we had Catholicus Pater, whose name was Melchizedek, and also we had the architect whose surname is Arsakidze, but also you will see his surname is Arsukidze, who was the architect, and he built this beautiful church that was, of course, renovated many times and reconstructed many times, but origin goes to him. And there is another interesting story, book, and a movie that you can also see with English subtitles, that he builds this church, and in the end his arm gets cut. Then you're gonna see the part of the church where you will see his arm, and there are two stories about his arm. One is that he was so good and so great that even his own teacher was jealous of him, and another story is that the king decided to cut his arm so he would never be able to build anything like this. And you see, it's huge, it's beautiful, and it's one of the most important places, one of the most important church for us. There is another story that is kind of love story, that king and Arsakidze fall in love with the same woman whose name was Shorina, and you're gonna see this in the book that is called Დიდosტატის Marჯვეna, so the right arm of the master, and also in the book, also in the movie, and so they fall in love with the same woman, and king decided to punish him in this way. Right now, here we are. This is the story about the place, about the city. If you visit Mtskheta, don't forget to visit also Jvari Monastery, which is very important. And hope you enjoyed this video. And if you have other questions about Christianity in Georgia, don't forget to leave any comment. Bye bye. Nachamdis.